Hi everyone, my name is Pete Jutras. I'm the director of the Hugh Hodgson School of Music, and I just wanted to take a moment to welcome you to this virtual MidFest. And first of all, we're sorry that we can't have the usual in-person MidFest. We love having you here in our halls and seeing you and your students and all the activity and hearing them play. And we're so sad that the world is not letting us do that this year. But we hope that this will still be a useful resource and a fun gathering, and we're glad that it is continuing. I want to thank Dr. Turner and Dr. Hartenberger and Rob Akeridge and all of our faculty and staff for the work they did putting this together. And most importantly, I want to thank you, not just for coming to this virtual MidFest, but for the work that you do day in and day out. Music education is so important. Without your dedication and passion, there are not universities that teach music and conservatories and professional musicians. You provide the groundwork for all of that. And I'm a music educator and a pedagogue. That's my passion. And I believe very strongly that the first lessons are the most important lessons in a student's development. And you all do so much to promote music and promote good in the world. And we're very grateful for that. As much as possible, we want to be a resource and an ally and do everything we can to help you on your quest. And I hope this virtual festival is a small part of us doing that. So without further ado, thanks again for all that you do. Welcome to the festival, and we do hope that we'll see you in person very soon.
Well, hi there. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Hardenberger, the Associate Director of Bands for the University of Georgia's Hugh Hodgson School of Music, and welcome to this year's virtual MidFest, which marks our 30th anniversary. The connection and sense of community that MidFest brings to students, teachers, parents, future educators, and to so many others are why I love MidFest so much. And even though we are not all gathered here together in person, I'm excited to share this time with you tonight, virtually. So let's kick off this evening's celebration. And for that, we've invited Dr. Tim as our keynote address.
This is
I think
great.
we have him here.
There you go.
There he is. Well, you know, Dr. Tim, this is like one of those full circle moments for me. We're celebrating MidFest 30 years, and actually I met you when I was in 8th grade. And I distinctly remember because I never, ever got called out of school early, but this one day I did. And there was a strange man sitting in the front seat of the car next to Mom. I was like, who's this man? And and then you said, well, we started talking and you were like, well, what band book are you playing out of? And I was like, I don't know. It's a new book. It's black and it's got a big E on it. You're like, why don't you look at the names on that book? And then I read through, oh, you're a big deal, aren't you? So then after that, that began our relationship. And it's been kind of fun to always have you as that person that was a part of my journey. And here I am, full circle on the other side of being an 8th grader. So welcome, Dr. Tim.
Jackie, thank you. And thanks to all of you. I think, everybody's expressed this, but, let's be honest. It would have been fun to be in an auditorium now with a lot of people and all that sort of thing. But we're not. So, we can either lament the fact that we're not there or get jazzed about the fact we can do it this way. Let me see. I think I'll take the second option. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So when it's just good. There's so many things. And Jackie, you were talking about this. There's so many things. And you're at a time of your life, for the students particularly, you're at a time of your life where band is everything. And you don't want to let go of that. You're dialing that compass in for your whole life right now. And every time, Jackie, I hear somebody say, well, I'm going to go to high school. I'm not sure I'm going to be in the band. I'm like, are you crazy? Are you nuts? You go to the high school, you have a whole family there for you, and every university in the world looking for band people. Because
Totally.
they know you'll succeed at what you do. So, Jackie, what do you want me to tell them? Because I got a lot of good stuff I can talk about.
I'm sure you got a lot of stuff. What'd be fun actually is we always have I remember being in high school and going to learn about leadership and then also coming to you at GMEA in Midwest and hearing about leadership. But wouldn't it be fun? Like, Dr. Tim, let's flip the script. Tell us about a memorable music moment from when you were in middle school or a young musician.
Oh, there's so many. I bet you got 1,000 of them too, yeah?
Yeah, I totally do. Oh, yeah.
and you're young, so you got a lot more to go. I thought about that because when you sent that great question, I'm like, whoa, let's do it. Well, really, when it just went, yes, you got to do this all your life, Tim. I was young and I live in a very small town in Indiana. And I'm sure some of you that are watching this, you're like from small communities too. And our high school band, not very good. But I love the music. So I'm a percussionist. And one of the local, places was having a dance or something. And there was an older group that was playing and their drummer got sick. Now I'm like 13 years old and I had no business being with those guys. And they said, come on, set in. And I brought my drum set and I sat down and Jackie, they kicked that thing off and I laid into it. And I went, I'm in heaven.
Yeah,
I
that was
don't
probably
want anything else in my life.
Yeah.
And that just kicked it off. I don't know why anybody would want to do anything else. To be
Yeah.
I loved it.
I remember playing in the community band with my mom, and this little lady playing bass clarinet turned around and looked right at me and she said, I didn't realize that little thing could play. In that moment right there, I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun.
Well, when did you realize it? I mean, when did you go, okay, I got to do this now?
I think, if you ask my folks, they'll probably say always. And I think in some way, it's always been a part of me, like a part of my DNA. It was something I had to do. Music was something I had to make, but then it also was music that was something that I really had to share. Like I remember staying awake at night being so excited about the thought of sharing music with people. Yeah. So I think that's what's kind of cool is how it can empower you.
Well, and again, for everybody listening, I know we got teachers listening too. It's the last expressive class in the school. Yes. Everything else is impressive, yeah? You go to take, and you all do that, you go to take your math class or your English class, and the closer you can give the information back to the teacher as they gave it to you, the higher your grade goes, right? Well, in band, it's expressive.
It's totally.
We get to say things with it. We have our own language with it. And I don't know about all of you, and I'm sure it's true for you too, Jackie. When I walked in the band room, it was a different feeling.
Oh, yeah.
You change moods.
Totally.
Like, I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm safe. Right.
And it was that space where you felt like you could bring your own point of view, but everybody would still understand you,
But, when people say, and again, we have all these great musicians on here going like, well, I think saxophone's the best. Well, I think trumpet's best. Well, and I'm like, great. All of you think what you do is the best. So there'll be room for everybody.
Isn't that awesome?
Because we accept each other. Band is a place for everybody.
It is.
Right, band goes all the way around, yeah?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It is big. So thinking about that, do you have any type of memorable experience from when you were teaching band or preparing for a concert or anything when you're on the other side of the podium, I should say?
How long you got, kid? I just, I thought about that because being a college band director, there's just so many. I mean, every time it locked in, I'm just like, okay, just freeze me right now. I want to stare for it. But I was thinking about it because there was one experience, and all of you are going to go through this at one time. Everybody that's watching. The wind ensemble had played at CBDNA, yeah? Okay. And Jackie, we had a marimba soloist who was great. We pulled her in and she did this whole concerto, which was great. So we go back home to the home concert, after all this is done. And I'm like, should we do this? And we had the percussion department there had like 44 majors or something. It was like way overbalanced. I don't know, the dumb percussion teacher kept bringing them on, right? And so there's one little girl that says, sure, I'll do it. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. So we do it in rehearsal. I'm like, holy crap, she's good. So then we do it again. And at the end, there's this beautiful 4-mallet thing in the center. And then the soloist kicks off the last part, which is tempo wide open. And it's usually about digga, 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 digga. So we're there and she kicks it off like digga, 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 digga. And I'm like, oh my God, hang on. And the band was so cool because they just came right to the front of their chairs. And then it accelerandos. I'm like, there's no way. And that little girl ripped that thing right to the end. Bing! It was perfect. And the crowd jumps to their feet and they're screaming. I'm crying because I'm like, this has got to come from God or something. This is just, And I was hugging her, and then I heard this other cheer, and I'm gonna cry. I looked around and the band was standing up and cheering.
Oh, Tim.
It
Yeah,
was,
because they knew.
oh, absolutely. They're like, here we go, we'll get it, we'll get it. And I just get out of the way and let them make music.
Yeah.
I just remember that so clearly. I was so proud of her. She actually played better than the soloist. Shh, nobody will ever know.
Oh my.
Nothing like
That's so much fun.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, that like reminded me even of like, yeah, there's so many beautiful moments. And inevitably, like, it's always in that moment of possibility.
Yes.
That how it could go, how could it go? And in that moment of possibility, it's so beautiful when everybody just clicks in.
You know, it's really, I think, Jackie, it's when you let go of I, me, when you let go of ego, push everything out, and you just give and harmony. Because
Yeah.
it's pure. It's not contaminated with any other agenda.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, giving in. I just like remember Pevensey Castle, great little snare drum ditty, you know?
Yeah.
Snare drum player. I still remember his little face to this day. 8th grader just took it off. Beautiful phrasing, way faster than anything we ever practiced. But I was like, holy smokes, this is better than anything we've ever done. And all the kids in the group just locked in. And I remember one of the people listening, giving comments. He actually came down from this balcony and wanted to commend the students, got on the stage and said something to the students because it was that obvious. It was so cool.
You can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know when it's there. It's like perfect intonation. When it hits, you're like, ooh, pure, clear,
Yeah.
right?
So fun.
Fresh air.
Uh-huh.
We've had some of the same experiences. So many things you learn from band, life skills.
Exactly.
And everybody always says, well, you have to get to you can play a whole note, happy, glad, sad, mad.
I know.
It's a language.
It is. And everybody will understand it how they hear it.
Well, and when they say it's a universal language and we all applaud in the platitudes, it really is a universal language. Everybody hears the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And, I always say, if everybody was in band, we'd have peace in the world because we'd be in rehearsals all the time. We wouldn't have time for war and all that stuff.
I agree. I would agree. I agree 100%. Oh my goodness, that's a great one. I might steal that from you.
You'll wake it up.
Well, I mean, so we both had these experiences early in our music life, and then so who or anybody, what made you decide you had to teach music?
Well, our lives are a lot alike. I always want to say Dr. Hartenberger. Remember the first time I called you doctor? Really? Did you check all those tests? I grew up in my mother and dad, neither of them went to college. Mother's got perfect pitch. She can play anything on the piano in any key, any style, can't read a note of music.
Wow.
Isn't that unbelievable? I always thought someday that would happen to you, but it doesn't. And dad's family, there's 4 that had perfect pitch. So the whole family, I mean, I grew up with music around me all the time. Yeah. But just being in that environment, and then you know what it is, and I'm sure it was same for true, and it's true for everybody watching it. Band people are different. Mm-hmm. And I got around band people and I went, oh, wait, these are my people. Mm-hmm. They think like I do, right? Yeah. And I want to be in here because these people are pretty well driven too. They're focused. They want to do something. And my mom says, I got to have good friends that, got clean noses and all this. This is where I want to be. And like I say, when I was teasing a group the other day and I said, and I'm sure it's true for you. When you go back to visit your high school, you go to the band room. Oh,
it's so true. Yeah.
You don't go to the chemistry lab.
No.
Did you have a jacket that said Algebra Pride?
No.
Band people. And didn't you treat your band director different than other teachers?
Oh yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
We talk to them different. Yeah. We share with them different. We tell them things we might not even tell our parents.
Yeah.
and they're always kind of there for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask you some questions. Did you get passes to get out of class, go down the band?
Oh, yes, all the time to go practice.
Wink, wink, right?
I did actually.
Did you meet your friends afterwards in the band room?
Oh, totally, 100%. The band room is where I went before school, and the band room was where I was at after school.
And were your social friends band people?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, birds of a feather.
I know. That's what's there. And Jackie, people will say, well, that's true in band and sports. Well, it's true in sports if you get to play. And I love sports. But some people don't get to play, or they have to bench it, or they don't even make the cut. Band, if you fog a mirror, we'll get you in there, won't we?
It's so true. There's a place. I mean, that's it. There's a place for everybody. And there's a place for everybody to contribute. That's the other beauty of it.
I know.
Yeah.
Everybody makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You have value, you count.
Yeah.
And some little girl the other day was talking to me, and for all the young people on here, and she was great, and I was doing all my band support, and she put up her hand and she said, "Are you telling me I have to give up my individuality to be in the band?" I said, "Well, some of it. You just can't play whatever you want to play, or show up whenever you want, or dress however you want to dress, or start and stop whenever you want to. But the rewards coming back, you can't get anywhere else."
Yeah.
So it's worth throwing in a little bit of, I'll show up at 7. I really don't want to, but coming back. And for all the middle school people in here, when you get to high school, man, that's going to be your posse.
Totally.
Those are the people you're going to hang with, and they're going to take care of you. And those seniors are going to learn your names. And in the cafeteria, they'll wave at you, and everybody go, "How'd you know the seniors?" "I'm in band with them, man. I'm in band."
Helps to know people in the band.
I know.
That's right.
Family. It's a family.
And it works the same way getting into college. I still see students. That's the other part of it that we always forget is when you go to college, there's still band to be a part of, and that's where you can meet all your friends. So,
well, and a lot of people go, "Well, I'm not going to be a music major." Well, that's all the more reason to be in the band.
Oh, exactly.
Don't miss that opportunity. And we know this when the colleges, they're looking for people, they're looking for people that do, above and beyond. That's what they say. You don't have to take band. You're going to succeed at anything in life. You go above and beyond the requirements. They say it's an elective. Elect to invest in yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
We've got a few questions coming in the
What do we got?
chat. And we're going to promote a few people to start asking.
Great.
So our first question comes from a familiar face. Here is Dr. Cynthia Johnston Turner.
All right.
Oh, hi. I'm looking at two of my favorite people.
Ditto.
Yeah. Can you see me? Blah, blah, blah.
You good? How's it going over there?
Oh, it's going just great. You guys are amazing. It's so positive and wonderful, and I love every second of this. And there's many things that you've both said that I love very much, but I want to kind of zero in on one thing that you said, Tim, and that was getting away from I, me.
Mm.
And I think that's so beautiful and important. The ego is a fascinating thing. And of course we need it and we use it, but would you talk a little bit more about we, us versus I, me, particularly in the band community, and how we as educators can create that sense of community in our rehearsals?
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, great. Obviously, I, me is about I, me. Energy goes in. We, us, energy goes out. And in the world we're living in, I, me is one of the lesser levels of maturity. We go from selfish to independent, I, me, yeah, to we, us, which is interdependent. And then, of course, the highest level is giving, which band leads us right into. Yeah, there's a reason they call them uniforms, because we all want to look alike. There's a reason it's called band. There's a reason that it's not the separate, but it's all of us as one. And again, if we can ever just wrap our minds around this, see if I can remember the poem. Here's the law of the jungle. It's as true and as blue as the sky, and those who obey it shall prosper, but those who deny it shall die. As the serpent that slithers the tree trunk, the law runneth forward and back, that the strength of the pack is each wolf, but the strength of each wolf is the pack.
Mm.
So synergy, 1 + 1 = 7 when you're in band.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get it anywhere else. The moment. So if we can ever get, as Jackie and I were talking about, if we can ever get people to really embrace we us, when the tide goes up, all the boats rise instead of by me.
Yeah.
What you bring to the table, who's bringing the dish, because it's when everybody brings something to the table, the whole banquet is better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all have to go. And it's hard to do because, Cindy, you're right. That ego's jabbering at us all the time. You know, do this. Are you sure? What's in it for you? What'll be there? You're right. But the give, and of course, at the highest level is when we give it away at the end. We realize the only thing to do in life is to give. That's all there is to do. That's why rich people give their money away. Nothing else to do with it. We eat so many hamburgers, right? I love it. That's such a good question. Thank you. You give all the time, Cindy. You're a giver. You always have been.
Well, I mean, if I may, the other part of that too, when you did this, there was I had another thought with the ego. Is it's also the ego sometimes in conflict. There's a voice that says what's expected of us, what our peers want, what the profession wants, what we should be doing, and always coming back to, I'm here to serve the students. I'm here to serve the students. I'm here to serve. When that voice says, you know, I need to be performing at fill in the blank, or I need to get this rating at the competition, et cetera, et cetera. I'm here to serve my students. I'm here to serve my students. I'm here to serve my students. I think that's what you're talking about, and it's beautiful.
Cooperation will always override competition.
Yeah.
Always. Even though that competition feels good and you have that moment of, yeah, we nailed it, right? And afterwards you go, I'm still hungry. I still have a cold. And you know, we can't take away the ego because it's what drives us too. It's what gives us to the point. It's to tame it, right? To take it because it's like great music. I mean, if it was just playing the instrument, wouldn't we just sit in a practice room, do it over and over and over? But it's when we get out and perform, we take it to the form. We watch other people. I was watching, Jackie, the thing that from last year where you were doing the sleigh bells thing and all that.
Yeah.
I loved it. I didn't like it. I loved it. And when it goes into everybody dance and everything, I'm like,
oh yeah.
And the kids are screaming. I'm like, connection. There it is.
Yeah. That's the beauty of music, and that's the beauty of music making, but that's the beauty of witnessing music making, is that everybody gets to participate.
Yes.
Like with their own perspective at the same time. Like, I'm a listener listening to this piece, but because of my own life experiences, this is how I relate to this music.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool. That's what's so cool about sharing music too with other people. So yeah.
There's no downside.
So sorry. Our next question is from Scott King.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, how are y'all?
Great. Looks like you're in space.
Good. Mike's background. That's great.
Thanks. So, Dr. Tim, I've seen you many times in person and read a lot of your books, and a lot of what I do with my teaching has a lot to do with what you've taught me. So I wanted to say thank you first.
Thank you, Scott.
Can you talk a little bit about all the things that band teaches besides being a great player? You know, we teach a lot of kids, and very few of them go into music as a major profession, but there's so many different things that we teach them that can relate to being a great chemist, a great anything they want to do. So if you can talk a little bit about that, please.
Boy, Scott, thanks for asking that question too. That's good. The life skills are unbelievable. Cooperation, responsibility, giving, sharing, purpose, mission, giving of yourself for the benefit of others. Here's one I heard the other day, and I know I'm sure we got some young people watching that are thinking about going into the medical field. Yeah, right. So this Johns Hopkins University is like one of the best medical schools in the nation, right? And people come from all over the world. They want to be at Johns Hopkins. So they go through all this battery of tests. And then when they get down to the final few, Scott, they actually bring them to Baltimore, to Johns Hopkins University. The last question in the face-to-face interviews they ask them is, what instrument did you play? Isn't that great? Because they know everything they learned in band can be transferred to everything else in life. It's just like you said. And they know those band kids are going to graduate and be great doctors because that's what we teach them to do, to finish, to give up giving up, if you will. How's that?
Yeah.
And this is a time in our history when, boy, this is going to separate everybody a little bit. But look what's happening even tonight. We wouldn't be doing this otherwise.
It's true.
So there's a win-win in here. If you look deep enough. That's just, you doing okay, Scott, yourself?
I'm doing great.
I see you got the boss beside you there, yeah?
I'm a high school band director, and my daughter just started band this year, 6th grade.
What are you playing? What are you playing, Tiger? What instrument?
Bassoon.
What?
Bassoon.
Oh, way to go, Scott.
Way to go.
You can go to Harvard. You can go anywhere you want to go.
In fact, she went to the UGA Double Reeds Day and loved it. Loved it.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, congratulations. Way to go. That's great. That's great. Our grandniece, when we had her here and she lived in the joint band, she goes, I'm going to be in the band. I'm like, yes, my girl. I said, what are you going to play? She said, flute. I'm going to go, oboe, French horn.
Yep.
You did, your daddy did good, dear. He just gave you a golden highway for the rest of your life. I love it. So good to see you, Scott. I'm so glad things are going well for you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
You're the best. Thank you. Wow. It's on my buddy.
Our next question comes from Holly Lloyd. And she is joining.
Here comes Holly. Hi, Holly.
There we go.
Hi, Holly.
Hey guys,
Looking good.
happy Christmas, Hanukkah, all that stuff.
Amen.
That's right.
Yeah, Dr. Tim, my question is, because you get around a lot, what sense do you have of how band directors nationally are dealing with COVID? We know music is happening here in Georgia, but I've heard horror stories where there's no music happening anywhere. So if you could pick a couple of random places far away, like maybe, Colorado, Northeast, West, just a couple of spots of some things are happening nationally, because I don't usually get that view.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Holly. It's different for everybody. Here, if you just stand back and just squeeze all the water out, whether you're hybrid, whether you're online, whether you're in space, regardless, the people who are focusing on what they can do and not dwelling on what they can't do are the ones that are ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't make any difference what the parameters are. They go, oh, we're going to be online. Okay, well, let's start doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like Darwin was right. The strong shall survive.
Mm-hmm.
So there's every variation that you want. But the key that is all the same is the successful ones continue to be successful and find all kinds of ways to get around the mountain, through the mountain, under the mountain, over the mountain, make a new mountain.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what's
Okay.
going on.
So a lot of places are just hanging in there and making it work.
Yeah, and they're going, okay, so we can't do this. Okay, we never have a chance to listen to good music. So get online and we're going to listen to good music today. Or you're going to write some music today. Or we're going to talk about composers today. Or here's one that just blew me away. High school band director, yeah? And he's all upset because he can't get to the beginners, right? And he knows what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So he tells his his high school leaders, he's in angst and everything. This is what these kids did. because they start in the 6th grade. They got the 5th grade list of kids and parents and everything. They divided them up. They called every family with the assumption the kid's going to be in band. Like, is Jennifer there? What instrument she want to play, Mrs. Smith?
Yeah, right.
He's going, Jennifer, somebody for you. Hey, Jennifer, my name's Nancy. I'm going to be your big sister when you're going to be in band. He said he usually starts about 45. He's 115 plus right now.
Cool.
Wow.
Wouldn't have happened if it wouldn't have been for this.
No.
Yeah.
Or those leaders would not have taken that initiative.
Right.
So yeah, we got parades going on in people's yards, people playing outside hospitals, soloists. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thanks. And yeah, thanks for all the inspiration through the years.
You're the best, Holly. Thank you. Where are you teaching now? Where are you teaching, Holly?
Well, I'm gonna hide from that question. I'm a recent retiree, actually, but I'm just happy to hear and dig some music still, and always want to hear from Dr. Tim.
You didn't retire. You refired.
I'm gonna be a musician forever, so
Forever.
That's no,
We're hooked. We can't get away from it.
No.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Thanks, Holly. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great question.
Great question. Way to go, kiddo.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to think about it, is to think about what are the things that are about band? What are those skills, and how can we finally have the time to hone in on them for our students to explore them deeper?
Jackie, yes. And I've heard so many directors say, I never had time to talk to each kid individually.
Isn't that the truth? I'll tell you, I never had the time to talk to each student individually. And when the pandemic hit, I started emailing each student individually and learning more about their lives. I feel so much more connected to this group of students at this time. It's the coolest thing.
And when you get back together and set against it, there's going to be a difference in sound, and it's going to be better.
Oh, it totally will. I have no doubt in my mind. Yeah.
Because it's all about trust relationships.
It is.
If I'm sitting beside you and I don't trust you, I'm going to edge a little bit. If I trust you, we're going to hit that accent together wide open.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Cindy's saying in the chat, I just saw, we aren't really socially distant. In some ways, this social distance through technology is actually allowing us to come closer together.
And I think we're going to pull some of this back with us when we get back into whatever it's going to be. We picked up some new tools along the way.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
One of the other day, one was doing, he had all of his kids learn to play something, and they put it together in a Christmas card form for their grandparents.
Oh, fun. How cool.
Each kid had his or her own album. Is that cool?
That's great.
God, I love that. If I were grandma and grandpa, I go, oh my God, so beautiful. Here, I'll buy you a car or whatever you want.
So true.
Oh, God.
Dr. Tim, I would love to hear about how you've adapted, since normally you are traveling the country. And obviously you've been able to zoom in maybe some more places, but it would be interesting to hear about your journey during this time as a musician, as a leader.
That's a nice question. You know what? I'm pretty present moment. Wherever I am, I am. You can't be where you aren't. Does that make sense? So if anything, now this is going to sound silly. Now I face to face. I wish I were there hanging out and we'd all go out afterwards and I'd, buy you spaghetti or whatever you want. That would really be, and we'll do that someday. But I'm busier now than I was when I was on an airplane, because time is the factor, right?
It is.
So I just get to be with more people and see more people and develop more relationships. And it's like, wait a minute here. Now I figure out I can do this while I travel.
Yeah.
Win-win-win.
It is a win-win-win.
And I'm so desperate for friends, I will just do whatever I can. I answer spam. That's how desperate I am.
Oh, that's too good. You answer spam. Well, so, okay, I got a question for you.
You go to.
What's the most important thing to be keeping in mind while we're making music, at home, while we're practicing, or on stage while we're performing?
Boy, that's such a great question. And here's what I think, and what I think in a quarter won't get your Coke out of a machine. So Don't get too jazzed about this, right? I think from the very time we take that instrument out of the case or put the drumsticks in our hands, that we have to understand that what we do is a word, is a message, is saying something.
Yeah.
Instead of just, do I have the right buttons down and have I got the strobe where it needs to be? But it says something. And somebody said the other day, well, yeah, but some days I don't feel like saying something. Well, say that you don't like saying something then.
Yeah.
It's a language. And once you can speak that language and learn that you can say things you can't say this way, or probably shouldn't, then you want to make music all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know about, well, of course I know about you. You change moods. It makes you a better human being, makes you more sensitive, makes you understand, more compassionate, more sharing, more giving. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So
definitely.
that's when I think every time we make music, we should be saying something to somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember the poem off the top of my head, but it's, about musicianship and forcing. If you force music, it's not going to be received. But if you go there with the intent to give music, that's the most beautiful thing you can do. It's just always go with that intent to give. Yeah.
Sounds like music, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It sounds like great music to me.
That's what we want. You're probably not old enough, because you said 8th grade. I'm like, oh my God. Victor Borga was the pianist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And a comedian, right? But also a concert pianist. And on his birthday, on his 88th birthday, they had a birthday party for him. 88, obviously, 88 keys, right?
Yeah.
And he said, everybody always laughs and my jokes and everything. He said, I'd just like to be serious. And Jackie, he sat down and played Claire de Lune. And I wept.
I'm sure it was stunning.
He had his arms around me. He was holding me. Yeah. It was just, and when it was done, there was like 4 seconds before anybody clapped, because it was poignant. It was perfect. And I'm not sure we can do that with words. My vocabulary is not that good, where you can just take a phrase out to just a whisper and then just lay it down gently.
Well, it's so different. That's cool. That reminded me of something I tell students, especially when we're trying to think about the end of a phrase in a soft moment, is that just because the sound stopped doesn't mean that the audience or that the listener isn't still singing it in themselves, and they need time to sing it before the note is fully rested. So you just had one of those moments where his music kept singing for you.
It just resonated. It was part of it. Some kid asked me one day, I was doing an all-state, and he goes, when are we going to get done? And I said, if you're lucky, never. You just sit and make music forever. Now shut up. Put your read on.
That's a good one. Oh, goodness. Let's see if we have any other. Well, I have let me think. So is there anybody that, well, we already talked about people that inspired you along the way and memorable moments.
Yeah.
What else can you think of to talk about?
Well, when you talk about mentors, and for the young people on here too, how important your band director is.
Oh, yeah.
And I understand all your teachers are important, and I'm there, I'm supporting. But when you drive by the school on Sunday and their car's there, that says a lot.
It does.
And when everybody else leaves at the end of the day and they stay, and when everybody is like busy and we'll talk tomorrow, and they'll go, sit down, we'll stay. Yeah. It's different. And I just think sometimes we need to go up, look them dead in the eye and say, thank you. You have to say something else. That will fuel them for a month.
Oh, totally.
And I'm sure this is true for you, Jackie, that it's never like my high school teachers and my college teachers. I can't call them by their first name. Right? Miss Sellers.
Yep.
Dr. Dunn. Dr. Smith, right? Because they're different in your lives. They get to a part of your mind and your heart and soul that no other teacher gets to, because music is the avenue to do that.
Yeah.
They know us and we know them and we feel it.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful connection. It's a beautiful connection of witness amongst, I always, every MidFest, witness that connection between the students and their band directors. I witness it with my own students, and I witnessed it as a student, and I still feel it as, I still consider myself a student. So I still do that. I will always call my band director, Mr. Spiegelman, period.
Yes.
Like that's how it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're you honor them. They're a mentor. They're a demigod, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't be here if it weren't be for them. You young people that are watching this, you probably wouldn't be watching this if it weren't for your band director.
Mm.
That's the impact they have.
It is true.
Critical.
It
Critical
is.
lives.
It's
So,
also cool because your band director is the one teacher that witnesses you through many years of your growth.
yeah. Yeah. And we get them every day in many cases.
Yeah.
We get that math teacher once every 2 years or 3 years. Band directors and we spend more time with our band directors than we do our parents many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're hanging out there in lessons. They remember your first name and they talk about the color of your shirt. They make you important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those of you who want to be band directors, it's the greatest gig in the whole world too.
Oh, totally. It
Mm.
is. It's a great
Yeah.
gig. Yeah.
If you want to do it.
Definitely. It never feels like work. It's fun. Wake up and have fun every day.
Yeah. Everybody wants to make a difference,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
It's,
and we all do it in different ways. But boy, when you're a teacher, and particularly when you have music as your curriculum, oh my God, how's it getting better than that?
good. It's
That's
so
banana
good.
split professionally, yeah.
It is. It really is. So fun. Oh, well, I have one more little idea. So if you had one special moment or special message for our next generation of musicians, what would it be?
I mean, just giving up, stay on the game.
Yeah.
The only way you can ever lose at anything is to quit. That's the only way you can lose. Even if you stub your toe and fail, or you play a stinger at the end of the march and it wasn't there, or you hit a wrong note and everything, you're still in the game.
That's
And
right.
I think so many young people are like, they want to be perfect. Well, same here, by the way. We want to be perfect. We don't want to make a mistake. A mistake is a Hollywood term. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. In Hollywood, they can retake it.
Right.
In life, we only get one shot at it.
Mm.
So you can't stop and go back. You have to go on. And the most important thing, when they say, well, so forth's more talented than I am, or so forth has a better instrument than I do, blah, blah, blah. The only thing that levels the playing field is 24 hours a day time. That's the only thing. And I'm sure that you went to school with people who maybe were more talented, but they haven't achieved at your level because it's time on task. Right? There is no persistence alone is omnipotent.
Mm.
To give up, giving up, just to stay in the game. And you will be a success. And all my corporate, I live in that Steinway Consumer world. All the corporate people, you know what they say? Give me the person with a great attitude. I can teach them how to do this stuff.
It's true.
Because that's attitude is the part we control. Total control. Whether there's a pandemic or not, we are in control of our attitudes at all times.
Isn't that true? Oh my gosh, we are in control. And that's the other thing that the journey that I've gone through in witnessing this, and we've already kind of circled on it, is not thinking about what we don't or cannot do right now, but instead taking this moment to take a step back and witness all the things we've not had a chance to look at and witness and appreciate and give thanks for in ways. Like it's been a really cool experience at times when you take in that moment and you realize, I get to wake up and the sun's up today instead of being awake before the sun and being at school already and not seeing it. Now I get to see it, or things like that. It's a special time, and we're all feeling and experiencing this together too. That's
yeah. And we become our most dominant thoughts.
Yeah, we do.
And we have control over what those thoughts are for the most part.
Yeah.
And so you're right. There are so many blessings out there, so many wonderful things. And if nothing else, we're Americans. We have band in school. We get to make music. They even pay us to be band directors, Jack.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're spoiled in a most wonderful way.
It's so true.
So special. So special.
It is. Well, Dr. Tim, thank you for sharing your time with us. And thank you for reminding us that our rehearsal rooms are spaces more than just doing music, but actually they're spaces for feeling music and creating community with our students. And, in this little bit of time, I also want to thank our teachers for being the ones that create this space for our students so that they can explore and express and emote feeling. So thank you, Dr. Tim.
Thank you. We do it again someday. And the next time I get to buy burgers for you and David and Deveron and Rob
Oh,
and
yeah.
Cindy
next
and
time.
everybody, right? My
Yeah,
treat.
I like that idea. Next time, for sure. For sure.
Thanks everybody for hanging out.
Yeah.
I love
thank
you all. You're the
Dr.
best.
Tim.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Well, MidFest audience, every year we invite guest bands to share our MidFest performance with you and to share with our audience. So this year we've invited 3 guest bands to showcase their programs. So please join me as we share our attention for the East Cobb Middle School Honors Band under the direction of Gregory Denson, Patrick Walsh, and Mary McGowan. The South Forsyth Middle School Symphonic Band under the direction of Andrew Poor and Nate Hughes. And finally, the Flat Rock Middle School Symphonic Band under the direction of Matthew Price.
Good afternoon. I'm Andy Poor. I'm the Director of Bands at South Forsyth Middle School, and we want to welcome you to our performance today in the 2020 COVID era. We'd like to begin by first thanking the University of Georgia School of Music, Rob Ackridge, Dr. Jackie Hardenberger, and all the other faculty members that provided us with this honor. Our students are really excited to present this program for you, but this opportunity would not exist without the support of our wonderful county level administrators, Dr. Jeff Bearden, our superintendent, Ms. Catherine Keyser, who's our content specialist. We'd also like to thank our school level administration, our previous principal, Ms. Sandy Tinsley, who just recently retired, who helped us build our program into what it is today. And we're very thankful to our current principal, Mrs. Molly Bradley, for allowing us the flexibility to teach in this COVID environment. And we hope that you enjoy our performance today.
I'm Nate Hughes, the Assistant Director of Bands here at South Forsyth Middle School. As I'm sure you all know, there have been many different challenges we faced in 2020 with the COVID-19 virus. Dr. Poor and I have consulted with the national study done from Colorado State and our different band associations across the country and have implemented a number of protocols to keep our students safe. From having all of our chairs at a minimum of 6 feet with the trombones being 9 feet front to back from the rest of the students, to having bell covers required for every brass instrument and woodwind instrument, as well as face shields for flutes and masks when they're not playing, we've done everything that we can to keep our students safe. We've also purchased 2 high-flow air purifiers to keep the air clean inside of our room. Thankfully, we've had no students contract the virus originating from our classroom, and all of the contact tracing done has shown that we've had 0 spread of the virus in our classroom as well. As far as music education goes, nothing matters if we can't keep our students safe.
My name is Matthew Price, and I am the Director of Bands here at Flat Rock Middle School. I want to take a brief moment to thank the parents, students, teachers, and staff who continue to make what we do possible. I also would like to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to watch our virtual performance. We hope that it is inspiring and informative. I also want to thank both the University of Georgia and the Georgia Music Educators Association for your invitation. We are providing you with videos of some of our favorite recent performances, and we hope that you will enjoy listening as much as we did performing. Thank you and enjoy.
When I think about the concert that Wind Symphony performs at MidFest, one of my goals is to highlight how everyone can continue to make music outside of school, in college, and beyond. This year, I invited Lineage Percussion to perform for you because they are an innovative, professional percussion trio comprised of former UGA students. And believe it or not, 2 of these players participated in MidFest when they were in middle school. Cody Brookshire, another UGA graduate, wrote this piece for Lineage. So please join me in listening and learning from Cody about his music before we watch Lineage Percussion perform.
Hello, my name is Cody Brookshire, and I compose Triple Helix for Lauren, Wesley, and Trevor of Lineage Percussion. They asked me if I wanted to make a short video introducing this piece, and I told them I'd be delighted to do so. I also thought that I would just kind of talk about the piece just a little bit to kind of give you an idea of what's happening and kind of what to listen for, since it's kind of unusual and might be unlike anything you've heard before. Around the time I started composing this piece, I became interested in polytemporal music. So polytemporal music is where you have 2 or more instruments playing at slightly different or maybe substantially different tempos. A related type of music that I was also interested in is phase music. Now, this is pioneered by Steve Reich, and with phase music, the way I see it is that it's also polytemporal music with a couple of more specific conditions, in that the musical material is generally identical or very similar, and the tempos are extremely close together, and that's what creates the phasing effect. I wanted to build off the ideas that Steve Reich pioneered and just take them a few steps further. So I start Triple Helix by having the 3 players play at pretty different tempos from one another. The way that this works is it takes kind of a shorter amount of time for the downbeats to line up again. And when they do, I cast that as a new section of the piece, and I make the tempos a little closer together. So while that rhythmic and temporal structure is playing out, I take the pitch material of the piece, and it grows from a more chromatic and ambiguous state to a state that is a bit more tonal with lush harmonies. Finally, near the end of the piece, the tempos all line up and are completely matched up, and a brief chorale section at the very end kind of closes the piece in a calming way. I'd like to thank Trevor, Wesley, and Lauren for asking me to write this. I had a ton of fun composing it, and I just want to give them a big thanks for working so hard on this. What they did with this piece was no easy task, and I think they did something really special with it, and I'm super proud and I'm super thankful for them for doing this. So I hope you enjoy. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or if you just want to say hi, or if you want to see the score. You can find me at www.codybrookshire.com. So hope you enjoy. Go Dogs.
Ready, set, and begin.
This next presentation was created by the students of the Fall 2020 Virtual Wind Symphony. After having a silent rehearsal over Zoom, the ensemble members recorded themselves while listening to a click track and watching me conduct. A team of 4 students worked together to edit all of the individual audio and video files into this truly symphonic performance. We hope you enjoy our virtual performance of Kevin Day's Rocket Ship. it looks like we're back. Looks like we're back from our concert, and that it was so much fun to witness everybody's work and see what we're doing in our programs. And now it's time to ask me any questions that you want. So let's get this party started. Anybody have any questions that you want to ask about? One thing that we've always done that I've always tried to do at MidFest is have a coffee hour where all of the band directors in the room can just get together and talk shop and get to network and all of those things that's important about the community of being a music teacher. That's the plain and simple fact of it, is realizing that we are a community, we are teaching music, and we're teaching music to the future and working together in this community to help our future. So what questions do you have, if any?
We're going to ask folks, if you have questions, to put them into the Q&A function in the chat, and then we'll promote anybody as your questions come in.
Perfect.
Similar to Dr. Tim, I think people would be interested in hearing your experience doing virtual wind symphony for the last little bit. You know, it just helps us all to know a little bit how everybody else does it, so we can get better as we learn this new reality.
Yeah, I don't know if I really have it figured out, David. But what I realized is that I spent some time thinking about what is it that I'm trying to teach in the rehearsal room, especially with collegiate, ensemble members. And I realized that the first thing is about listening. We always talk about listening. So how's another way to think about listening? And what we ended up doing is every week having a discussion on listening. And what was fun is we realized that we extended our ears beyond listening to each other play. So, so often I talk about with students when I visit classrooms, even we talk about listening and thinking about listening and how our eyes work. So we have sounds that we peripherally listen to, and then there are sounds that we listen to. And so we always go through a listening journey in a rehearsal that way. But in this case, we talked about listening in the sense of listening to each other. And it started with how often do we ask somebody, how are they doing? How's their day going? And we expect them to say, I'm doing fine. And we never follow up. What makes your day fine? What makes your day going well? What is about today that's happening? And so over the span of the semester, we started learning how to listen, what I say, with wonder, as opposed to listening with expectation. So even kind of going more on to that, how often do we score study? And we fill ourselves with the information of the score, and we walk into that rehearsal with expectation for how that score needs to sound. And how fun this semester was to instead listen with wonder, curiosity, and invitation for sparking interest. And I think what I witnessed was a greater sense of community amongst the students, amongst one another. So we took this listening topic throughout the semester and did activities that just involved even listening to your space and realizing how the sounds around us can inspire music, but then also learning to really listen to one another in a whole new level. Thank you, David.
And we have a question coming in. Let's see.
Great. Hey, Danny.
Hi, Dr. Hartenberger.
It's good to see you.
It's so good to see you too.
Yeah.
So my question is, who are some new composers that you found and maybe some composers you feel are underplayed that we as educators should explore?
I knew you were going to ask that. Now, Danny, I'm going to have to find my pages that I marked. But have you found any composers that you've discovered?
I've really been getting into Jack Wilds. I started exploring some of his compositions last year, as well as Timothy Lost, and then Kataj Copley, who's a senior music education and composition student at UWG, as well as Kevin Day.
And Kevin, yeah, who's over here at UGA. And I've been exploring more of Omar Thomas's repertoire and Julie Giroux, which we all know these friends. And you know what's going to happen, Danny, is I can't find my list that I made. And I'm going to have to come up with a list. So right now in the chat, if anybody has names of people that we need to be talking about or know about, throw those names in the chat for one another, because that will be really helpful. So things that I like to try to do, Danny, is I try to set up one day a week where I do listening at least. And that's been a helpful like practice. And that's something we can all do. Like if we just designate while we're drinking coffee, take 5 minutes and listen to 5 pieces. Well, you can't listen to 5 pieces in 5 minutes, but try to listen to 5 pieces on that day. And then for that one, and then pick one of those pieces to program. So it also gives you the practice of deciding which piece to program and then defining purposes. And that's kind of how I've started developing my repertoire. And what do you listen for in music when you're trying to pick pieces? Do you have any tips?
I like to be inspired.
You like, well,
I like to be inspired.
what does that mean?
and it means different things for different pieces.
Okay.
I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, Dr. Jack Eady,
Yeah.
and I want to be moved the way that when I listen to the Northwestern Symphonic Wind Ensemble play O Magnum Mysterium. I want to be moved like that, no matter what the piece is, whether, 5 notes or if it's a collegiate ensemble performing a masterwork. I want something that's going to move me that way.
Well, that's, that could be a tall order, Danny. But at the same time, have you ever listened to a piece and it didn't move you, but then when you went to perform it, it moved you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think there are elements of that magic that exist in pieces, and it's just finding that.
Yeah, I think every piece has that moment for each person that can help, that just that little heartbeat in there that makes, that it draws you to it, connects you to it. So yeah, that's what you're listening for. I like that. Okay, so we got some we'll add on to it. We'll keep adding, but we got some great lists here already. So everybody, if you'll take a minute to get into the chat and kind of pick through. Did you have any other questions, Danny? That was a great one.
That's all I've got for right now.
Right now, I see. Very good. Anybody else have a question? Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Dr. Hartenberger.
Let's see.
We do have another question.
Great.
From Scott King. Scott King asks, when we get back to normal, there are a few things that we'll continue to do that work better moving forward. What are some things you will do when we get back to normal?
Some things that I will do when we get back to normal that I've taken from this. I think some things I've learned is that the art in recording and listening back, I think I've had to do that a lot, especially with teaching conducting classes. We'll record ourselves and then watch it back and play for that recording. So figuring out other ways to essentially monitor the practice and that's really what I've learned a lot about. So that's one thing. Another thing that I've had to learn how to do better over this time period is organize my time, or be more, organize my time better is a way of saying it, but really being conscientious, like I have this time to work. And whereas before we could go to our office or we could go to the rehearsal room, and that would be the space that would allow us to organize our time. Now that we don't have the space to organize our time, I've had to learn how to organize my time in a planner and actually use that time that way. So it's been a different game in that, but what's been fun is now thinking about how much more I can do effectively because of going through that practice. Other things, what I've really liked is allowing my students to learn how to talk more and connect more in talking about listening. And that's something I'm definitely going to take across into the rehearsal room, is allowing the musicians in the room to collaborate even more, to collaborate not only about music, but to collaborate on life experiences, on things like that. So, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And we have another question from Anthony Morris, who is going to join us.
Okay, great.
Take it away, Anthony.
Hey, how are you? It's good to see
Great. How are
you.
you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually really well. Thank you.
Perfect. So I wanted to know, how has COVID changed your outlook on music, band, everything? I mean, I'm in my first year teaching, and down here in Florida, it's kind of normal-esque, kind of, but
Right.
I am really valuing having band every day,
Mm.
just making music with, from sixth graders all the way to 12th graders. It's just phenomenal because I talked to some of my friends and they're like, we don't even get to have band. So I'm
Oh.
really valuing my experience right now. So how has COVID changed your outlook?
Well, it's definitely made me appreciate, because like some of your friends, once we went into quarantine, I haven't rehearsed a band since we went into quarantine before spring break. So the last time I saw the Wind Symphony students was that Wednesday before we left for our break. And so that's given me a lot of perspective in appreciating the art of collective music making, because we can all go home and practice our instrument, but it's different being with other people. Like, let's be real. That's why we like doing what we do. So it's also, though, made me really think about what is in the act of music making that is so important and what draws us to it. And I think, Anthony, it's the exchange of energy between one another, like that, and also sharing of energy. So things that I've started learning to do in my daily life is think about, what are the acts of being a musician? Well, one of my things that we take for granted as being a musician is, after somebody performs, we compliment them on their concert. Like if someone does a recital, we say, oh my gosh, I really loved how you just did the song. That was so good. Oh my God. Like, you, after a concert, right? You do that. But then after that, you congratulate. So you express, moments of appreciation for what someone else did, and you congratulate them. And then usually there's a hug or something as well. So what's been fun is kind of dissecting those, like thinking about those aspects of music making and trying to instill them into my daily life. So what I've done more importantly now is, when I listen to students play, I try to give them more feedback and express the appreciation, not only what they need to fix. And even it's seeped into my daily life. Like, I will say things to my family members, tell them, oh my gosh, I just thank you for doing the dishes. Oh, stuff like that. But that's one thing I know, that when we get back into that face-to-face context, I hope that I keep that at the forefront, is really appreciating the time with other people. But also, what's been neat to witness is how, as a conductor, I've learned how important it is to make sure when I talk, especially over Zoom, that I gesture more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that I will now start really thinking about as I talk, even in person, is allowing my body to talk more.
Mm.
Because we've been sitting behind our computers so much, we're getting quiet in the body,
Yes.
which talks to our heads and then our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other thing I've been doing, Anthony, is making my students move more during our Zoom classes. And actually, we played catch over the internet with each other, and we made it last for over 30 minutes, and everybody was muted. That was the cool part.
Wow.
So what the other thing I've been doing is playing more, exploring more, which I know for sure I'll take into the rehearsal room, is exploring the world more, other than preparing a piece.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that kind of answers a little bit of your question.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you're in your first year this year?
Yes, my first year. Yes.
Oh my gosh. And guess what? We're all in our first year.
I know. Definitely been a very interesting first year. But again, I'm just so thankful and happy that I do get to see my kids and I get to work with them. And listening, I think, has been my biggest thing this year, of let's listen to each other. Every time we speak, let's listen. And it has really been just so wonderful being down here and teaching.
Yeah, it is. Isn't it fun?
Yes, it is. It really is. It's fulfilled. Like, I am fulfilled, honestly.
Yeah, I can feel the energy. That's so cool. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. That's great. So what other questions do we have? We've been talking a lot about teaching from remote, and even with Dr. Tim, we were talking about like thinking about the aspects of what a rehearsal allows our students to do. So the other thing I even think about is how often in a rehearsal space do we give our students the chance to play one at a time? And what's nice about this world is now there is more space and time to allow the individual student to play. So I would start exploring that more with your students. Give them more opportunities to play individually, to hear themselves play and make music, and then also then to work on hearing together is the other side of it. Hey, David.
We have an anonymous attendee asking, can you talk about how you got students engaged in producing the rocket ship video?
Yeah, it was just kind of, so the precursor to all of this was I wanted to do some sort of montage video with Kevin Day's piece Rocket Ship. And the first idea was to do this as an honor band, and then we realized that's a lot of work. And so I started shaping things differently. So the first thing I did was just record it as if I were conducting it. And we took the footage in Hudson Hall. And a little fun fact is I realized as I was conducting through the piece, that I was actually conducting the Wind Symphony students, and it was really beautiful. Like I would go to conduct the trumpet section and I could see them, like see those individual faces, those people. And it was so beautiful to realize that even though the music isn't sounding, I still see the people that sound the music. And that's really humbling and beautiful to think about. But so what happened is we had a few rehearsals, and the first rehearsal that we tried to do, we called it Let's Try to Break the Internet. And that was the title of the class. We're going to break the internet. And we used Zoom and Clean Feed audio. So the students had the Zoom video on, but we would listen through Clean Feed to see if Clean Feed would allow more people to be sounded simultaneously. We quickly discovered that we broke the internet within seconds. I was hoping it would last longer. So after we broke the internet, what I did after that was I did a few rehearsals. I would just, post a piece online and say, okay, find your part and let's go through this piece. And I would conduct through it and then ask them questions like, were you able to keep up with me? Did we all align at this and this? And so after a few of those rehearsals, I said, well, why don't we just make a performance out of something? So we got a click track, and that's what I conducted to, was just the clicks of the piece. And so they watched me conducting, and the click track was on their headphone. And all of the students just, after that silent rehearsal, essentially, recorded themselves. We all got dressed up and recorded ourselves, and they submitted their individual audio files. And then after that, I said, I don't know what to do. So what do you want to do next? Like, we have all these individual files. And these 4 students, Ethan, Caitlin, David, and Mika, said, well, let's just try and see what we can edit. And they actually took control of the situation. It was so cool. I just said, okay, here's all the information, take it. And they assigned one another areas of the piece to edit. So it's quite like there's nobody's individual idea from beginning to end. It quite literally is this working together. And Caitlin and Ethan really worked on the audio part. And when I heard the audio for the first time, I realized, oh my gosh, they've never listened to each other before. Like, I realized in that moment, after all of this, that was the first time that none of the students heard one another play. And still to this day, they haven't. And then Mika and David took over the video part, and they just made it happen. It was totally cool. And yeah, I'm totally in debt to them. Like, it's brilliant video. I'm really proud of them, proud of their work. So that's kind of how it happened. And sometimes the greatest thing as a teacher is to just say, I have an idea, but I don't know how it's going to happen. And you put it out there to your students, and then you let them use their imagination. and let them show what their imaginations can do. I think that's the beautiful part of being a teacher, honestly. So I cannot take any credit on this. This is all their work. But it was a lot of fun. What else do you want to know?
I know we're all waiting for more information and good news, but what are your tentative plans for the spring?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of, the spring we're still figuring everything out, and obviously we have ideas, but one idea that I am working on is something that I really love doing, or putting together concerts to teach music to younger audiences. So a children's concert. And so I'm working on a children's concert idea that explores how our audience can make music at home. That's the goal, because we won't be able to perform this children's concert if we get to do it. We won't be able to have a live audience. So then the next step is to figure out, how do you engage an audience when they're not there listening to you captively? And the thought was, what if I could figure out a way to create this musical scene where they get to contribute to the music, or participate in the music, or participate as the choreography of the music or something. So the idea right now is to take you on a listening journey through a zoo, and how do animals sound through music, but then also how do animals move through music, and just thinking of other ways to stage it. And I think, the reality of today is that sometimes you just need the opportunity to start thinking differently. And this is one of those opportunities where you can start thinking differently and thinking creatively differently, and exploring other ways to engage your audience, and not expecting the audience to participate the way they have in the past. And this is one of those moments. So I'm really excited about the opportunity. It's still a big idea, and I have to figure out how the logistics of all the big idea, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun for our Wind Symphony students to put together as well. And then other things will include, as the weather breaks, and ideally as the wave comes down, we'll perform music outside. And what I'd like to do is to do more chamber pieces, but I'd also like to work with the students to explore more repertoire that isn't necessarily for wind ensemble specific, and instead allow them to create their own versions, their own transcriptions, and explore sound that way. So that's kind of what I'm hoping and shaping up for next semester.
Seems like a good opportunity to point out that as a part of the MidFest materials that we're releasing, there are some previous children's concerts that are available with the faculty studio videos for use in your classrooms. And the Wind Symphony has a long history of that type of educational programming. And so we hope that some of that now available to you will be valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And please check out those videos. That was actually the whole idea of MidFest for me was, MidFest is about our middle school students, but really it is about us, the educators, you educators. That's what 30 years of MidFest is celebrating, is 30 years of middle school music making and teaching. And so the whole goal with this was to figure out a way to give to the teachers something that they could use in their classroom easily with their students, and also to celebrate you in some way by saying, here, play this video and take a minute and learn with your students. So I hope you all enjoy them and put them to use, please. What other questions do we have out there? I saw that David put the playlist up. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Dameron, are you going to read that question for us?
Yes, we have an anonymous question. This year has presented many tough days for a lot of teachers. What are some things that teachers and musicians have been doing for their mental health?
I don't know what everybody else is doing. All I know is what I've been doing. But mental health things, well, here's some things I've been doing with my students. I've been taking a moment, and a lot of times with assignments, figuring out a way to offer another way to think about it. So here's this assignment, and sometimes assignments can bring stress. So instead, if you feel like this assignment is giving you stress, instead, write to me 10 things that you're grateful for and turn that in. So what I've been trying to do is figure out a way to allow my students and myself that opportunity to think about the good that's really happening in our world. And so that's been one way that I've gone about it. For me as a teacher, I've been trying to make sure it's so easy to work now when you're working from home to work all the time. So I've made sacred windows where I don't work and I don't look at my phone, I don't look at anything, and I just try to be in that moment. And also, I'll just tell you, at 9:30 a.m. every day in my household, we have a dance party, and you are all welcome to join. And we turn on music and dance for at least 10, 15, 20 minutes, because that's the one. And we make sure that we dance as hard as we can, as happy as we can, to as good a music and vibe. And that's one thing that I've done with my students. So another thing to help our students with their mental health is to ask them to move their bodies more, because they go to Zoom class, they go to one class, they Zoom in a class, and then they go to their next class and they're still in the same spot. And students need that time to go from classroom to classroom. They need that time to move their body. They need that time to express and talk to their friends and, oh my gosh, and move and do. So that's one thing I've done, is I had more dance parties when nobody's really watching. But the other thing I've done is also give my students more chances to, through Zoom, do the breakout rooms to talk to one another more. That's been a helpful thing, because that's the other side of it, is they just need that social outlet that they have through social media, they have through their phones, they have those, but there's a different social outlet when you're in the classroom. And so if you can figure out how to capture that for them, that helps. And that's what I've been trying to do. Yeah.
We had another question, but you kind of answered it
okay.
with that one. The second question was, what are you doing to stay centered and inspired during these challenging times? As creatures of habit and routine, it can be difficult to embrace the many challenges that are thrown our way every day. What are you doing to keep your positive outlook on things? And I think you talked about the dance party every day, which is a great idea. I should probably do it myself. But besides the dance party, are there other things you're doing to keep to maintain your positive outlook?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are a lot of things. I try to, like, we in our home, we have this thing where we'll watch the news, we'll watch those, but when it hits 7:30, we only turn on happy TV, and like we make a playlist of movies we want to watch. So we've gone through, all the Glee, all of the Pitch Perfects, and things that just so right now we're going through our holiday movie list, like just finding things to do like that. The other thing I do is, like, I find a lot of joy and appreciation listening to my students play. So whenever I get those opportunities to listen to them, they'll send me recordings, and that motivates me. Students, I don't know about the rest of you teachers, but I have a feeling we all feel the same. Our students are what really motivates us. Our students are what bring joy to us, is watching them grow and get better. And so, like, what's been hard is to see them struggle, but seeing them struggle has allowed me to center and realize that I can be a positive beacon for them, because they give me so much. And that's what motivates me every day. And yeah, I would say that's, and then I take walks, and I have a toddler, so he wakes up at 6 and goes and it's running straight until he goes to sleep. So I also am grateful that Jonah doesn't give me time to think, because I have to think about him. So I think that's the other part of it. Yeah.
Distractions are always good, and kids have a way, and students have a way of causing us to center ourselves, in order to make sure that we are in the right place for them.
Yeah, it's true. It is. Yeah, being in the right place. Is Danny going to come back, or should I just give my list of books?
I'm not sure. He didn't respond to that.
Okay. Well, I'll just
Oh, there he is. He's coming.
Here's Danny.
Hi.
Hi, Danny.
So, books. What are some books, music and or otherwise that you would recommend?
Okay. All right. I'm going to pull out my Kindle because that's the only way I know. But I'll tell you, at home we read books all the time, and we read children's books. And I will tell you, I've read a lot of children's books to my students. I think what's beautiful about children's books is that they're able to capture a deep, meaningful topic and say it in a way that hits the nail on the head and is perfect. So here's a couple of books that I've read that I would recommend. On the Night You Were Born is a great book. We also talked about community. And so in talking about community, we've talked about a family is a family. Other things that I've read is things like, where's the book? Chop Wood, Carry Water. It's a great book. And that one is about really embracing the daily practice of being a musician and what that practice, what that does for you. So I think this book, I read it very early on. I think I read it back in February, honestly, but I've used that to carry me through and focus on the day. What can I do in this day that is about practicing being a musician that will then translate into my future? So that's one of them. I also love, I don't really have podcasts, but I listen a lot to things about positive mindsets and things like that. Because if you think about it, Danny, a lot of times when we're practicing, we are talking to ourselves through a critical lens. And so then we start critiquing our playing, and that critical lens can then get carried on into other parts of our life. And we start criticizing lots of components about ourselves. And so what I've been doing is making sure that I kind of fill my day with, and also for my students, positive ways to talk to yourself. So I listen to positive affirmations that you can find anything on YouTube, how to talk to yourself in a positive way. And I'll do that. I'll start my morning with talking to myself in a positive way. So then when I go to practice or go to study, it doesn't impact me so much. I once heard that for every one negative thing you say, you have to say 10 things that are positive to outweigh that one negative. So just a 1 hour practice session, you got a lot of hours that you got to balance out than that one practice session. So I've been spending a lot of time reading about that. How do you balance out? How do you keep yourself in that type of mindset? And that's been one of the books. The other thing, honestly, is I like to read information more so. So I've just spent a lot of time reading books on how to learn faster, how to be kinder. And let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, those are my big hits. So other books that I can say is One Small Step Can Change Your Life. That was the book. There's a great book that I enjoy reading from time to time. It's called The Secret. I highly recommend Michelle Obama's book. It's beautiful. What else did I read? Endure, Mind, Body, and oh my gosh, I can't read that small. And the curiosity, there it is, the curiosity, elastic limits of human performance. So this was learning how athletes do what they do. Definitely. And of course, we have lots of books by some of our near and dear people like Dr. Tim, or any of the things that we see teaching music through performance, things like that. Yeah. Do you have any great suggestions?
I don't know if they're great. I've got some books that are on my nightstand that I need to start. But Simon Sinek's Start with Why is next up on my list. I've watched that TED Talk from him a few times, so I'm finally gonna read the book.
That's good. Yeah, I love TED Talks. I'm always on TED Talk. That's the other thing. So on TED Talk, I've watched a lot about body language, shaping who you are. There's one by Amy Cuddy that's really great. There's another one about the mind and growth mindset by Carol Dweck. The Power of Yet is what it's called. There's another one by Sean Aker, I think is his last name, and it's about positive thinking. And then the other thing that's fun to do on TED Talk is just type in the word listening, and you will be amazed at what you can discover. And that's a wealth of resources for yourself, but also that you can use with your students. They're really great ones. That's kind of my go-to list. Great question. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think if there aren't any more questions, do we have any more questions from anyone? I think we're good. Well, I'm always here to chat. So even if you don't want to chat here online over Zoom, just email me and let me know, because we're all in this together and we're all here to help one another. And that's the one thing I love about being a music teacher actually is how willing we are to ask for another set of ears.
Let's bring him. Looks like we've got maybe time for one more question.
Oh,
Let's see if we can get Lawrence in.
Okay, Lawrence.
To ask his question.
Hi.
Hi, Lawrence.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going. I'm hanging in there. How you doing?
Good. Okay, I lost my question now that
Got it?
Basically, I was to know if you had any ideas about how to bridge the gap in all levels of music education, elementary, middle, high school, and college, from the first grader in elementary music class to the senior in a college wind ensemble. I know the children's concert is like one of your great ideas, but I was wondering if you had any other thoughts of how we could do that.
Yeah, how do you bridge that gap? Well, I think, I've witnessed this done in other schools and other programs, and even we heard Dr. Tim talk about it. It's when your students connect with the younger students, when the older students connect with the younger. I distinctly remember going to Shiloh Middle School here and working with Gabriel Woods when he was there. And what was so cool is that the high school students came and they were the ushers for the middle school band concert. They stood there. They were there as part to help the middle school students know where to go in the concert hall. But then they were also there to greet the parents when they came in the door. So I think there's something really important about showing your program within its community. I still to this day remember something that always stood out to me as an elementary school child was when the high school band came to play at my elementary school, and also when the high school show choir came and when the strolling strings came. So all three, I remember them coming every year, and they all had their window.
Yeah.
It was like my favorite thing every year. And I knew that as soon as I got to high school, I was going to be in one of those. Well, I already knew I was going to be in the band. I had already decided. But like having that, so it doesn't just have to be your high school students. It's your middle school students, right? They can go do that and connect with the elementary schools. And then what if you did a concert? What if you were able to put together a school district community concert that you showcase the first grade singers, and you showcase the sixth grade boys choir, and you showcase your eighth grade band, and you showcase your high school, you showcase all of these ways of music making. And I think we get we need to think about the community of music makers more. So I think that's a big help. And that's something that you've been in Wind Symphony. You remember me saying, even after concerts, you can put your instrument down, but you need to get out there and talk to the audience, talk to your listeners. And I think that's what we got to consider, is how do we connect? So even if you were to do something for elementary, where you go perform for the elementary kids, what if you ask them to come sit next to your students? Pick whichever instrument intrigues you the most and go sit next to them and listen. That's pretty cool. Or what if you had your sousaphone player go sit in the middle of the second graders, right? That's really all it takes, is just connecting, being present with one another. I think that will
Connection.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lawrence. Well, I think we've kind of asked our questions so far, and I just want to tell you all thank you for MidFest. MidFest is something that is so meaningful to me, because this is where our students see what they can grow up and do with music. So thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for 30 years of MidFest, and thank you for being you. Thank you for teaching music and sharing music with our future. And I can't wait to give you all a hug when all of this passes.